The night was darker than usual, rain slapping against the lonely windshield of Mark's old pickup as he drove home from another exhausting double shift. His hands were calloused, his eyes heavy, and his heart heavier still. Being a single dad wasn't a choice. It was survival. Every breath, every late-night meal, every worn-out dollar was for one person, his 8-year-old son, Liam. But that night, fate had another plan for him. Because halfway down Oak Ridge Avenue, he saw a figure stumbling in the rain, heels sinking into puddles, mascara streaked, clutching a purse like her life depended on it. And when Mark pulled over, he froze. It was his boss, Emma Lane, the CEO of the construction firm he worked for, the woman who had barely spoken to him beyond clipped office orders. Now, barely conscious, soaked, and trembling in the storm, Mark jumped out of the truck without a second thought. "Ms. Lane," he shouted, catching her as she lost her balance. Her breath smelled of alcohol and regret, her eyes glassy and unfocused. "Mark," she mumbled, her voice slurred. "Why are there two of you?" Before he could answer, she fainted in his arms. He stood there for a moment, torn between duty and fear. If anyone saw him, an employee with his drunk boss in the middle of the night, it could ruin him. But his conscience wouldn't let him walk away. So he helped her into the truck, drove her to his small apartment instead of risking her being alone in her fancy penthouse, and laid her carefully on the couch, covering her with a blanket. Liam peeked from his bedroom door, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Dad, who's that?" "Someone who needs help," Mark whispered. He stayed up all night on the armchair, listening to the rain and wondering what tomorrow would bring. When morning came, sunlight poured in through the blinds. Emma groaned, sitting up slowly. She blinked in confusion, scanning the small, cluttered living room. A faded photo of Mark and Liam hung crookedly on the wall. A pot of coffee steamed on the counter. And beside her was a small note. "Didn't want to leave you alone last night? Coffee's ready. You're safe." Her throat tightened. No one had ever taken care of her like that, without asking, without expecting. She looked around again, realizing how humble the place was, how lived in, how real. Then she saw Liam peeking around the corner shyly. "Good morning, miss," he said, holding a drawing of a house and two stick figures. One tall, one small. She smiled faintly. "Good morning. You must be Liam." Mark walked out from the kitchen, his sleeves rolled up, clearly nervous. "Morning, Ms. Lane. You feeling okay?" Emma's cheeks flushed. I think I owe you an apology. And maybe a thank you. I'm sorry for—" "You don't owe me anything," Mark interrupted softly. "Just glad you're safe." But Emma wasn't done. She noticed the cracked walls, the patched-up couch, the half-empty fridge when he opened it, and something inside her shifted. This man, her employee, had saved her dignity, her safety, and asked for nothing in return. Later that day, she insisted on being dropped home, but something about her had changed. The usual coldness in her tone was gone. "Mark," she said quietly before stepping out of his truck, "you didn't have to do that last night." "I know," he replied, "but I couldn't just drive by." Her lips parted as if to speak, but she only nodded. "See you tomorrow." That night, Mark thought it was all over. A strange, fleeting encounter between two different worlds. But he was wrong. Because the next morning, when he walked into the office, everyone was whispering. His name was on everyone's lips, and then Emma called him into her office. She was standing by the window, dressed sharply as ever, but her expression was softer, almost vulnerable. "Close the door," she said. He did, heart pounding. "Ma'am, if this is about last night, it is," she interrupted. Then she turned around, eyes bright with something he couldn't read. "Mark, I looked into your record this morning. You've worked here for 7 years. Never missed a day. Always on time. No complaints. Yet you're still working hourly pay with no benefits. That's my mistake." He frowned, unsure where she was going. "You saved me when I didn't deserve it," she continued. "And not just from the rain. You saved me from myself. I've been so caught up chasing success, I forgot what real humanity looks like." She paused, voice trembling slightly. "So I'm promoting you to site manager. Effective immediately. Full benefits, full salary. You earned it long before last night. I just never saw it until now." Mark blinked, struggling to find words. "Ms. Lane, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," she said, smiling faintly, "and maybe have dinner with me and Liam sometime." I'd like to thank him too. For a long moment, he could only stare. The woman who once barked orders from her glass office was now offering him not just recognition, but something more. Months passed, and their worlds slowly intertwined. Work dinners turned into real ones. Laughter replaced awkward silences. And Emma found herself spending more evenings at Mark's modest apartment than her luxury condo. Liam adored her. She, in turn, found in them what her wealth could never buy: warmth, honesty, belonging. And one crisp autumn evening, as they stood outside watching Liam ride his bike for the first time without training wheels, Emma whispered, "You know, that night in the rain, I thought I was broken beyond repair." Mark smiled, eyes soft. "Sometimes it just takes one act of kindness to remind us we're still human." She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You didn't just save me, Mark. You changed me." He smiled back, the golden light of sunset wrapping around them. "Maybe we saved each other." And as Liam's laughter echoed down the street, the storm that had brought them together finally felt like it had found its calm.